Sunday on a 3-day weekend. The Tour de France is going in September, and football starts. Professional football starts this week. I can't get my head around the fact that the Tour de France and professional football are going to be occurring at the same time, but that's just me. So what are we going to do this week? So this week is our 21st broadcast. So we're officially legal. We've turned 21. We can drink. As with most Americans, we've been drinking long before we turned 21. So you got to do something special for turning 21. And we gave this next to no thought. So what we were going to do was throw some party for it turning 21. And instead, we spent yesterday running off to Maryland and hitting a Total Wine and discovering that in Maryland, the Total Wines can actually carry distilled spirits, and they have very extensive rum collection. And we may have gone a little above board with our purchases from Total Wine, but it's okay. It's all right. So there's going to be a couple things we're going to do this evening. We're getting down toward the end of all the cocktails that are in Minimalist Tiki in their 30 cocktail canon. And a couple of them call for special ingredients that I don't keep on hand all the time. I'm not a huge, generally not a huge fan of ginger beer. I like it sometimes, sometimes not. And my wife, Star, doesn't really care for it. So as a consequence, we don't have ginger beer in the house very often. But we do now. And so that's going to knock out a couple more drinks that require ginger beer. But since Star is not a big fan of ginger beer, we're going to start with a cocktail that does not use ginger beer. We are going to do it with toast, of course, but we'll get there. So we're going to do two cocktails that require ginger beer. Neither one of them actually use rum, which is kind of bizarre given how much rum we just purchased. But the cocktail I'm going to do for Star does, in fact, require rum, so that'll be okay.
So we have a David.
We have David Heinzen.
We have Colleen.
We have Colleen. Colleen, glad to see you're back home from your visit to the hospital.
We have both Brooke and Andrea.
Brooke and Andrea are here. Excellent. Yay.
Brooke wants to know if that's an alien landing behind you.
Yes, sure. We'll go with that. Either that or it is an awesome jellyfish lamp that we picked up in Kansas City, in Lawrence, Kansas, many moons ago, like 15 years ago. And we're trying to figure out where exactly it goes for maximum effect. That's kind of cool. We've got a one of those little fire light bulbs in there that's supposed to look like flames. And it you can't really see it in the jellyfish, but it's still kind of cool. So we'll work with it. We'll see what we're going to do.
And you have a Dana Kinsey.
Hi, Dana. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And as you know, the thing we usually do to start this mess is a toast. So I'm going to have the wife come on up, and we're going to do what we... Hi, Gwen. Do what any other self-respecting 21-year-old would do.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're going to do shooters. No, just kidding. So you turn 21, you got to go have something you've never had before, even if you've been drinking up to this point. So what we have here is a big red box, and it contains a rum, a rum from Panama. So this is a double cask, double wood Caniche rum, artisanal rum from Panama. I have our tasting glasses right here, hon. Already got that covered. So we're going to open up this bad boy. So it's got the nice sliding lid here. So that looks, ooh, we're going to reveal the secrets on the 21st birthday. Oh, look, there's a bottle of rum in here. Big surprise there. All right, we're going to close this guy up. Thump. So, just to start with, so we're looking at 40. It's a pretty bottle. It's 40% alcohol by volume, bottled by Maison Fernand, a large bottler out of France. It's imported and distilled in Panama. It is their perfection. perfection in a bottle. It's a pricey little number, but I heard some good things about it when I looked around online, and very few things that were awful about it, or actually nothing that was awful about it. And so we said, what the heck? Let's splurge a little and go with a rum that we've never heard of and see what we got. So this is going to be our first tasting of Caniche rum out of Panama. Now, every week I'm trying to do a what have I learned this week about alcohol, tiki, rums, Lovecraft, something along those lines.
Taking Pooch to Total Wine in Maryland, where they have rums that we can't get other places, is expensive.
We did learn that. We
I
did.
learned that, yeah.
We did learn that. What we also have learned is, and you would have thought that I would have picked this up a long time ago, that when opening a bottle of rum, or for that matter, any other spirit, it's been sitting in the bottle for a while, you should actually let this thing sit in the glass for a while before tasting it. I realized that all the rums that I had tasted coming straight out of the bottle always seemed to be a little hotter than they do later and a little tight. So they need some oxygen to get to them, and a little nitrogen, obviously. And so I'm going to take a sip of this real quick and make sure it's not rot gut, which would be sad. But then we're going to kind of let it sit for a little bit and come back to it and see what we think. Again, so this is 40%, so it should not taste very hot at all. This is the minimum ABV that it can be bottled and still called rum in the U.S.
So, happy 21st broadcast.
Woohoo! Broadcasting legally now. Okay, well, there's definitely vanilla notes, but it's rum, so. But there's.
It's a nice.
There's
like
a
high
weird
note vanilla.
There's a weird nose to this, though. Almost like a. I'm getting like a plastic or a methyl off of it. Like. Okay, this is going to sound weird, but you know how the brain takes an aroma and goes back.
Right.
Yeah, first time that you open up a Star Wars figure with that weird, the old Star Wars figures with the plastic and that smell comes out of them. Yeah, I got just
the oxidized figurine.
Oh no, because they had just been made and sent out after Christmas. What were you guys thinking after Christmas? What the heck was that?
I can drink that.
Oh,
A lot of vanilla in there.
There is definitely a lot of vanilla. It's kind of sweet. It's not overly sweet though. I'm not immediately suspecting that they're doping this with sugar afterwards. Mouth feels a little light, so it's not a heavier mouthfeel. Again, makes me suspect that they're not doping. The Tour de France is going on, so of course I'm talking doping when I talk about adding things that shouldn't be in a spirit. There's definitely some fruit notes here. You don't get so much of the rotted banana that you sometimes get from Jamaican rums. It's very different from the Parse. There's some nut elements to this as well. I get almost a hint of pecan to it. But that's just on initial sitting. I am not at all displeased with this, just on first taste. This is quite yummy. I can drink that, not a problem. I'm going to let that sit. We'll come back to it in a few minutes after I make a drink for Star. So the drink we're going to make now is, it's called the Mr. Bali Hai, and there's actually a classic Bali Hai, Mr. Bali Hai mug that goes with this drink that I'm sure if you pay any attention to tiki whatsoever, you know what a classic Bali Hai mug looks like. I do not actually own one, so we're not going to be making it in a classic Bali Hai mug. But here we go. So this starts with a ½ ounce of simple syrup, and this is actually going to be done in a not a mixing tin, in a blender tin. So we're going to put crushed ice in here. We're going to stick this under the blender. We're going to have a real good time with it. We're going to take out the styrofoam from my blender tin, because that would be bad. All right, so ½ ounce of simple syrup. We're going to go off book slightly. We're going to use 2-to-1 Demerara syrup here. So ½ ounce. ½ ounce. Nice thick 2-to-1 Demerara syrup. Again, as I learned last week, was it? 2-to-1 and greater proportions are in fact shelf stable, so that's kind of cool. Full ounce lemon juice. Lemon juice. I got lemon juice around here somewhere. That is lemon juice right here. Full ounce of that. So there's a couple of odd things about this cocktail. One is it involves a coffee liqueur. And with coffee liqueurs, Kahlua being the primary one, pineapple and lemon seem to be like a common mix for tiki drinks that use Kahlua or some other coffee liqueur. So it's a little unusual, but it's not unusual for drinks that use Kahlua. All right, so simple syrup, lemon juice, pineapple juice, 1.5 ounces of pineapple juice. As you probably well know, when pineapple juice goes in tiki cocktails, it seems like a fair amount of pineapple juice goes into tiki cocktails. So there's 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces. You know, orange juice, you get 1 ounce. You know, lime juice, sometimes you get up to 1 ounce. You don't get much more than that. I've seen tiki cocktails with up to 4 ounces of pineapple juice in them. So, I mean, that's a little unusual for tiki cocktails. 3/4 ounce of coffee liqueur. I'm not actually going to show you the bottle that this is poured from because I have this giganto bottle of Kahlua that is made from a recipe from my high school mentor. And he has since passed away, but we have a friend of ours in San Francisco that is continuing to produce Kahlua according to that original recipe. And so that's what we have here. I didn't feel like trying to dredge out the great big bottle and trying and pour 3/4 ounce of Kahlua in there. So 3/4 ounce, in this case, homemade yummy Kahlua. Thank you, Matt. All right, coffee Kahlua. We need 1 ounce lightly aged filtered rum. Now, ordinarily, I would reach for like the Plantation 3-star, which I'm sure would be absolutely fine in this. I could use the 10-to-1 Blanco. But again, I'm going to go slightly off book here. And I'm going to go a little older age on this. And I'm going to do a non-filtered or lightly filtered Bacardi 8-year-old. The Bacardi 8-year-old is a nice solid Puerto Rican rum. And so we're going to go ahead and go with that. And we need 1 ounce of that. 1 ounce. And then the thing that'll make the drink is, of course, the Jamaican rum. So we're going to go 1.5 ounces, even more aged, 12 years, Appleton Estate. Because when it says aged Jamaican, and I'm not blowing the bank, I'm reaching for the Appleton 12. You guys should know this. You've seen me use enough of this stuff in the past. Star's shaking her head. Uh-huh. All right. So we double check what we've got here. We have simple syrup, 2-to-1 Demerara, lemon juice, pineapple juice, coffee liqueur, lightly aged filtered rum, in this case the Bacardi 8-year-old, and 1.5 ounces of aged Jamaican rum, in this case the 12-year-old Appleton. We're going to throw some crushed ice in here, and then we're going to stick this on the spindle blender and let it run for a bit. It's a nice big scoop of crushed ice. Trick picked up from Smuggler's Cove is just throw 2 or 3 larger cubes in there, agitator cubes they call them, to help mix this around. So we're going to do that. Not very long, 5-10 seconds. So it's about right there. Done. All right. And this is going to go in the closest facsimile I have to a Bali Hai mug, Mr. Bali Hai mug. which would be this guy right here. I picked him up from a thrift store wandering around the French Quarter in New Orleans, and this is actually a commemorative mug from the Hukilau. I don't know what year, but it says Hukilau on the back and gives a location and Louisiana. So the Hukilau last time, one of the last times it was in Louisiana. So there we go. All right, so it's going in here. This is open pour gated finish. So we're going to go Oh, it's all nice and frothy. I don't actually want to get the larger cubes in there. So I'm going to reach over and just do this to start with. Leave this way open so the crushed ice can get through, but the larger cubes cannot. There we go. Nice. All right, hon. So we have the Mr. Bali Hai for you. We're going to need a straw for that. You seem to have a liking for the big fat glass bamboo straw, so we're going to stick that in there. And let's put a sprig of mint in there just for you.
I linked to
A couple of sprigs of mint. Yeah.
Mr. Bali Hai.
These guys will go right there.
We have a chuck.
Yowdy chuck. And so there you go. One Mr. Bali Hai. Take a sip here. Yep, you'll hate that. She loves pineapple. This is going to go just fine. It's got pineapple and coffee in it. Yeah, see, there we go. Now, I can make ginger beer drinks to my heart's content, and she'll be fine, because she will just sip on that all night long. All right. So there we go. So that's the Mr. Bali Hai. It's a relatively simple drink. There's nothing terribly complicated in there that you can't find knocking around. And if you don't happen to have the aged Appleton, you can go with the Appleton Signature. If you don't want to use something like the Bacardi 8, you could certainly use any of your standard typical white rums. You could use Bacardi Superior in this. It would be just fine. It won't have quite the same depth of flavor of using the Bacardi 8, but still, it'll be tasty. It'll be yummy. So there you go. I'm Mr. Bali Hai. So what are we going to do next? Oh, next we're going to come back to the Kanichi rum and see what it tastes like after it's opened up a bit. I lose a little of the nose once it's opened, which is a little surprising. Huh.
Marcia.
Hi, Marcia.
She loves the glowing tentacles.
By the way, Marcia, congratulations on the dissertation, all being done, all being passed. Congrats, congrats, congrats. Dr. Marcia. Oh, caramel, burnt sugar. What am I getting on the end there? There's almost a smoke to this. There's a flavor I can't quite place here, but I really like it. It works really nicely with this rum. This is quite tasty. It's not a Scotch smoky.
No, it's like a burnt toffee smoky.
Yeah, it's like literally burnt sugar. Yeah.
More specifically, burnt toffee.
Burnt toffee. Okay.
Yeah, it's got a more.
Those toffee candies that you taste. Yeah, that's what this is tasting like on the finish. I am not at all displeased with this. This is quite a yummy rum. I will be happy to be sipping that some evening. But on to the main course. The main course are going to be two cocktails that feature ginger beer. Quite surprisingly, neither one of those also feature rum. So we're going to go completely off book here, and despite the fact that we went hog wild buying rum yesterday, that's actually all the rum that we're going to actually use this evening. We're going to be using other liqueurs this evening. So shout out here. He's not online, but we will get him online at some point. I had the pleasure a number of years back of serving as the best man for one of my friend's weddings, And the gift that he gave to the individual that was his best man and his various groomsmen was a bottle of tequila and a gun. All wrapped up in one. Ta-da! A bottle of tequila. And yeah, so we're going to do a tiki drink that uses a silver or platinum young tequila. And so, kabing, kabing, kabing. We're going to crack this puppy open because I think turning 21 is a good occasion to make use of this. And I don't tend to carry a whole lot of silver or platinum rums around. I do carry a few really young mezcals, but not so much on the tequilas. I like to sip my tequilas, so I like the añejos and the reposadas instead. So we're going to make a drink. We're going to use tequila. We're going to use young tequila and a gun, evidently. So there we go. Shout out, Jeremy. This one's for you. This is the El Diablo. So the El Diablo starts with a mixing pint. Tun, tun, tun. One mixing pint. I need a second mixing pint, which is down here somewhere. Down here somewhere.
Down in the basement.
Second mixing pint. There we go. Ta-da. Why do I need a second mixing pint? Well, because I'm going to do two versions of this cocktail, and the two versions will differ only in the sense that they will use different ginger beers, because I want to see what the difference in the ginger beers are. So you could get some cruddy little ginger beer out there, or you could go fairly high-end ginger beers, and that's kind of what we've done here. We have ginger beer somewhere. Aha! I mean, they're not amazingly craft ginger beers, but there's a San Pellegrino ginger beer. Awesome stuff. And then we have, you've seen this stuff before, Reed's all natural Jamaican ginger beer. So that's what we're going to do. Andrea has a question. Yes.
What's on fire?
What's on fire? So it's not coming from Brooke. This is incense that is on fire. And Star, if you would get me the name of what incense this is, we can tell people. And they can go, yeah, we really don't care because we can't smell the incense. So we don't know if we want it. Like, it's the Palo Santo, yes. The Palo Santo number 10. Okay, so we're going to build this in a mixing pint. So we need a ½ ounce of lime juice. What did I do with my lime juice? My lime juice is also over here. Dun, dun, dun. Fresh squeezed earlier in the day. All right, ½ ounce lime juice. Find my ½ ounce marker, quarter half. ½ ounce lime juice. ½ ounce lime juice. Ta-da. Then we get funky. Not Jamaican rum funky, we get other funky. We get strange ingredient that you don't normally see in a lot of tiki drinks. Creme de cassis. It's nice blackberry liqueur, very dark, dark purple. So we got 3/4 of an ounce of that. It's nice and thick. This is going to take the place of the sweet component. So there's no simple syrup, no demerara, no honey syrup, none of that. There's creme de cassis, which has no cream in it. It's just creme de cassis. It's like creme de cacao. There's no cream in it. All right, so there you go. We need 1½ ounces of Blanco tequila. 1½ ounces Blanco tequila. There we go.
There's a shot out of it. It's been empty. It's been used.
It has not. I popped the wax on this guy this morning. Or this afternoon. 1½ ounces. There's one. There's another one. Oh, yeah, there we go. ½ ounce. Oh, it's such a pretty purple color. Aw. And there's another ½ ounce. Okay. We'll,
Cassis is black currant, not black.
I'm sorry, black currant. Correct. It's black. No, it's not. It's purple. It's nifty. Okay, there. And then we have 1.5 ounces of ginger beer. So we build this in a mixing pint with the ginger beer and 1.5 ounces. I need to pop these bottles right here. I'm feeling very conversational this evening. I don't know what it is. It's a little weird. I don't know. 1.5, or is that 1 3/4? Double check. You know what? We're going to do it this way. We're going to be sure. There's 1.
So that's the favorite.
This is San Pellegrino ginger beer. This is Reed's. Reed's is the ginger beer that I know. This is the ginger beer that I started drinking when I started drinking ginger beer. I'm not a huge fan of ginger beer, but when I drink ginger beer, this is the ginger beer I drink. So that's what we got. 1.5 ounces.
Available at Trader Joe's.
Available at Trader Joe's, yes. All right, so there we go. That's it. That's the entire ingredients in the El Diablo, aside from ice. So we're going to put some ice in here, and we're going to stir them roughly 10 seconds each. It's really cold when you step on ice cubes and you're wearing no shoes. All right, so full scoop of ice. Crushed ice right there. Crushed ice. And then these guys are going to go in Collins glasses, right? And the Collins glasses have some crushed ice in them. Right, yep. Looks good, looks good. Lid that up. All right. Here we go. There's one. Ta-da! Then we strain these. And to strain these, we use a julep strainer. The julep strainer goes there. Yeah, I know. You've been watching Alton Brown's Quarantine Kitchen, and he puts it in like this or lays it outside. And, no, do it this way. Much easier. Oop. See? Nice light purple color. There we go. I'm going to finish these guys up with a little more crushed ice. And lime wheels. So we go soup. Soup. There's a lime wheel there. And a lime wheel here. Ta-da. Put straws in those. Here's one. Here's 2. And there we go. This is the El Diablo, 2 different ways. One with Reed's and one with San Pellegrino ginger beer. And so now the question, can we actually tell the difference between the 2 of them? So, El Diablo. Oh. The ginger beer here is really light. It's not an overpowering tequila flavor. Mm-hmm. A little more aggressive ginger beer from the Reeds. The ginger comes through a little more clear.
I prefer the San Pellegrino one.
Yeah, the San Pellegrino is much more almost has a club soda aspect with a light citrusy element to it, rather than an overpowering ginger bite to it. Whereas this has much more of the ginger bite to it.
Which you prefer.
Which I prefer. So we have our 2 drinks. Ta-da! And this is why we keep 2 of various things lying around the house. So we keep 2 peanut butters in the house because we are peanut butter incompatible. She insists that smooth peanut butter is the only way to go. I insist, why have peanut butter if you're not having extra crunchy peanut butter? So we have 2 different peanut butters, we carry 2 different ginger beers, and so on and so on, and it just seems to work out that way. So there we go. There is the El Diablo. Thank you very much, Mr. Jeremy. I'm appreciating this.
Trisha Cassidy.
I also think, this wouldn't be so bad with a little more aggressive tequila in here. So maybe if we did one of the añejos that's got some age and a little more character to it, that would add a little depth to this.
It's not very El Diablo.
Star says it's not very El Diablo. There's nothing really devil-y like about this. Well, I could put some habanero bitters in here and make it devilish, but then she wouldn't drink it at all. And, well, I don't want to drink all of these well, I want to drink all of these, but I'm not going to drink all of these this evening. So there you have it. We have done the Mr. Bali Hai, and then we have done the El Diablo, a tiki drink involving ginger beer, lime juice, sorry, creme de cassis, and tequila. Interesting mix. So tiki often has connotations of this sort of fantasy Polynesian lifestyle, but most of the drinks from tiki have as their roots Caribbean drinks. This screams Caribbean to me much more than it does anything Polynesian here. And the El Diablo, the Spanish El Diablo, seems to work with that. We have a Mr. Bali Hai failure over here on the table. That's okay. We happen to have a roll of paper towels here, which I'm just going to fling off in this direction towards Star, and hopefully not hit her in the head. There you go. I did not, but I also didn't get it all the way to her, so she's going to have to go get it. But so we've had a drink foul. What else is going to happen on, the 21st, right? There's always going to go out, 21st birthday, and there's going to be a drink foul because you're not an expert yet, right? So
Trying to get a picture.
she was trying to get a picture, knocked it over. So we may have another picture, which is like a wet spot on the table with an empty glass lying next to it. The Mr. Bali Hai. Yeah. Okay, maybe not. All right, so wait, we're going to come back to the Konichi, because why not? We'll just do this between each one of the drinks. Sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I'm not displeased with that at all. That's really nice. There's man, I can't quite place that flavor. I wish I could describe what I'm tasting to you. It's not really chocolatey, but almost that bitter cocoa nibs kind of thing. I get a little bit of that on the finish of this too. Yeah, I like that. It's tasty. It's not going to take the place of one of the Foursquare exceptional casks, but that's a quality little rum there. I'm happy with that. Then we're going to have another drink of the El Diablo. We've done one drink this evening that involved the spindle blender. We've done one drink that involved your mixing pint. And the last drink that we're going to do this evening is a typical shaken. So we're going to use a Boston shaker. So your 2-piece Boston shaker, build the drink in the small one, lit it up with the top one, shake, shake, shake. So that's what we're going to do. This one also involves ginger beer. You should probably know ginger beer is carbonated. Here's a trick. Never put carbonated beverages in something that you are going to shake. You will blow the shaker apart. It will be extremely messy. Don't do it. All right. So that means you have to add the ginger beer at some other point. It is typical when adding something that is carbonated to mix the drink, either shaken or in a mixing pint, pour that into whatever glass you are going to use, and then add the carbonated beverage. There's been some discussion, some friends of mine in the bartending industry swear that if you run the carbonated beverage down a mixing spoon, that the surface tension on the on the spoon will cause the carbonation and the carbonated liquor to mix better with the drink. I'm not sure how much truth to that is, and maybe someday what I'll do is I'll do a couple of different cocktails where I will try different techniques of putting carbonated beverages in, or carbonated liquids in, with the rest of the spirits, and we'll see what works and whether or not we can taste any difference whatsoever. This cocktail that we're going to do for you this evening, however, specifies exactly how you're supposed to do it, and that involves taking a glass and putting the ginger beer in that glass to begin with. We are going to start with Collins glasses. Start by putting the ginger beer into the Collins glasses. 4 ounces of ginger beer goes into these Collins glasses. Let's see how much of this we have left. So again, we're going to do 2 different versions. San Pellegrino 2 ounces. San Pellegrino 4 ounces. Right. 4 ounces ginger beer, San P, and reeds. And you can tell there's a difference between these two. The San P is a little cloudier. The reeds looks a little more like your typical ginger ale. This is the reeds here. The San P there. All right, so those just sit right there. Okay, and then I'm going to do this and this for our mixing. Okay, so what do we do now? We need 2-to-1 Demerara syrup, 1/4 ounce, only a 1/4 ounce.
Soaked business card.
Soaked business card. It just absolutely makes the drink that little bit of cellulose, paper flavor. Gosh, you hope the inks aren't toxic. That sort of thing. Sorry, hun. Well, that explains why she spilled the drink all over the place. All right, so 1/4 ounce Demerara syrup. Again, 2-to-1. Lime juice. We're going to use lime juice, and the lime juice will help, of course, clear out the simple syrup that we just had in there. What do we got? We have 1/2 ounce of lime juice. 1/2 ounce lime juice. And another 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Does it seem like it's flying by this evening for some reason? It's just like, we're going way zooming here. So I don't know why. I don't know why that's true, but it just seems like that. So this, again, is an atypical tiki drink in the fact that there is no rum in it. We're going to actually use a combination of gin and brandy. You'll recall we did a gin and brandy drink previously called the Scorpion. And we have, coming up in the not too distant future, we're going to do something else that has gin and brandy in it, and I cannot remember what the name of it is. I haven't told you what the name of this one is. But it goes out to all of the people that are having a hard time. This is the Suffering Bastard. Yeah. 1942, Suffering Bastard. All right, what we got? We got the lime juice. We got the simple syrup in here. We need the brandy, 1 ounce of brandy. Thank you, Brooke and Andrea, for the Catoctin Creek brandy. I'm going to do 1 ounce each. And then for the gin, you can use whatever you would like, but the recipe generally specifies London Dry. And I mean, you could use a botanical gin. It's just going to give you a really different flavor profile. And you could therefore change the name of it. You know, you're Suffering Uncle Val, the Bastard. See, that you could do something like that with using a botanical gin like Uncle Val's. So gin, 1 ounce. I'm not going to use a very good gin here. But being as it is the 21st, we're going to celebrate by using the gin that taught me that I didn't like gin. Gordon's was what Dad had on the bar the first time I ever investigated Dad's bar. and it, well, put me the hell off of gin for a long time. There's really nothing wrong with Gordon's dry gin. It is just a pretty junipery gin. I mean, it epitomizes the dry style. It's a relatively inexpensive gin, or a very inexpensive gin. It'll be perfectly fine in this cocktail. I just happen to have, a flask of it lying around, and might as well use it up for cocktails rather than, sipping gins. Certainly not going to put this in a last word or something along those lines. Okay, so full ounce London dry gin. One ounce. And then the super secret ingredient, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Right. Gin and bitters go really well together. Angostura is just the king of aromatic bitters. I mean, it just is. It's what is on every bar, everywhere. The closest runner-up is Peychaud's, but they're not even close to the amount that Angostura sells. So we're going to go 1 dash, 2 dashes. 1 dash, 2 dashes. There you go. Doesn't take much. Some of you who have been tuning in may be wondering, hey Pooch, didn't you get like a home bitters kit? How is that going? Well, I decided to do a blackberry, not a black currant, but a blackberry bitters. And it has 2 components. It has a spice component and it has a fruit component. The fruit component, not surprisingly, has blackberries in it. Takes a little longer to infuse than the spice component. So the spice component is done. It is sitting on the counter. It has been filtered. It's ready and waiting for the fruit component to finish up. Then we're going to add a little bit of spiced syrup to it. And we're going to continue to add the spiced syrup and the spiced bitters to the fruit bitters until we get a proper flavor that we want. That'll take about another week. So I should have that bitters potentially ready for our 22nd broadcast. So something to look forward to. My bitters book is upstairs.
Up 1 level?
Up 1 level. It's on the coffee table, under the coffee table. Right. Okay, that, my friends, is a suffering bastard. It just needs to be put together. Here is all of the ingredients. 2-to-1 syrup, lime juice, brandy, gin, Angostura bitters, ginger beer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shake these guys with cubed ice. Go very cubist here. So there's a scoop of cubed ice. Another scoop of cubed ice. This goes here. And this is going to go here. Lock those down. Again, make sure that the wider portion of your shaker is facing your bartender. That way, if it breaks, it goes on the bartender. It does not go on the patrons. Go. Wow, it's really cold.
Bartender hands, the opposite of chef's hands.
Bartender's hands, chef's hands. Yeah, temperature hands that temperature doesn't matter to. All right, so we are going to strain this over the ginger beer. So unlike adding the carbonation to the base ingredients, we've poured the carbonation in and we're going to add the base ingredients to that to cause that to mix. I got to tell you, I think that this is just going to give us a better mix than otherwise. Now, there is a story on this particular cocktail. So there's a very famous bartender, globe-trotting bartender, incredibly important to all things tiki and Caribbean in terms of cocktails. I'm going to mispronounce his name badly. Last name is Scilom, Schlam. He created this cocktail in 1942 at the Shepherd Hotel in Cairo. 1942. That's in the middle of World War II. And apparently, this was a pretty favorite drink of the British forces that were defending North Africa from Field Marshal Rommel. So there you go. It has a nice history for defending us against fascism. A suffering bastard. Fill a little more with crushed ice. Going to top that with some mint. And if I have done this properly and have not forgotten where I am, we still have the reeds on the right and the San Pellegrino on the left.
Yep.
We need some mint to make this. 1942 version of the Suffering Bastard. That goes in there. We need a second sprig here. Do that. We've got our straws in there.
Our Surfside sip.
Right. Okay. So Surfside Sips is where we get our glass straws from, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is a solid, sort of white-colored glass straw that has a rainbow across the top of it. So that's the reeds. That's the one you don't like.
Well, that's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
This one's better. Maybe.
Maybe. That's pretty tasty. Joe Schlam is he globetrotted all over the place. He was behind the bar at like most major tiki bars coming out of the 40s and 50s, and his name is just stamped all over tiki and tiki cocktails.
Did you try that?
I'm going to try that right now.
I'm going to walk away with it. I think the Reeds is better.
I think the Reeds is better here. Wow, I'm really surprised because the San Pellegrino seems to be a lot sharper in that cocktail than it did in in the previous cocktail.
One's cloudier. So
Yep.
This is San P.
Yeah, okay. So there we go. So the Suffering Bastard. There have been many, many variations on the Suffering Bastard, and most of those variations have suffered from not being the original concoction and moving away from it. This is quite good. It's quite complex. The ginger beer adds a nicety to this. While I understand the Dark and Stormy is a perfectly reasonable and okay rum and ginger beer drink, I really do think that the gin and brandy really works well together in this cocktail. So if you're not a rum fan, or you're just tired of rum, bite your tongue, send your rum to me. Go with a Suffering Bastard or a Scorpion or something along those lines, or a Saturn. Something that's made with, say, gin or gin and brandy. Or you could go with the Eldorado. I mean, the Eldorado, again, is non-rum. I think the Suffering Bastard, though, is just a better, more balanced cocktail. The El Diablo is fine. It has that black currant flavor that is really nice to it, but yeah, I just like the balance of the gin and the brandy working together with the ginger beer here. So yeah, I really do. The Suffering Bastard, good cocktail. Pay attention when you're ordering a Suffering Bastard from your typical Chinese restaurants as to what they're putting in it. And if you see something like sour mix, go in a different direction.
Trisha wants to know why you slapped the mint.
Because it was bad. No. So Trisha is asking why I slapped the mint. And then I jokingly referred to because it had been bad. Because that's what it's into. No. So here's the deal. The reason bartenders slap mint or other aromatic compounds, herbs, is to get them to release some of their oils. So if you walk up to a mint plant and you stick your nose in it, it will smell like mint. If you take one of those leaves and pop it off and crush it just a little bit, it smells a lot more like mint. And that's all you're doing by slapping the mint a little bit. You'll also see, in order to get the oils and the olfactory bits going with mint, people will sometimes slap it against their hand like this, and it's just the same effect. You're just getting a little kinetic energy in there to release some of the oils in the mint, because the olfactory component of the cocktail is important. So if you don't serve this cocktail with mint, it's not the same experience. It just isn't. And so you want to have that mint hitting the nose. We taste substantially through our olfactory senses rather than just our taste receptors. And so having everything come together just is right. And that's why a lot of your classic garnishes are there, is because they want to provide that olfactory component. And you just get a little more of it by slapping the mint around some. So there you go. There, you have my permission to slap the mint around. Ta-da. So there's your answer.
Discount code?
Oh, Star wants me to remind all of you that if you are particularly enamored of these straws that we are showing off, so if you saw the earlier purple bamboo straw that Star had, or these white straws with the rainbow flag on them, if you really like those, Surfside Sips makes them, and they have graciously offered us a discount code. So anybody that goes there and purchases anything from Surfside Sips, if you type in the promo code Lovecraft, that's all one word, all capital letters, LOVECRAFT, you get, what is it, 20% off? Yeah, so 20% off is a really nice discount. So we love Surfside Sips. We love the stuff that they do. We are apparently way too much in love with Total Wine now, at least the Maryland Total Wines. And there's another hand up. Somebody else has a question.
Brooke has a question.
Brooke has a question. I might be able to read this, actually. Were these drinks invented when ginger beer had alcohol in it? Did any these tiny drinks, say, use UK-style ginger beer, alcoholic ginger beer? Good frickin' question. My guess is yes. But we don't know for sure, or I don't know for sure. It would certainly change the ABV on the cocktail. And Brooke, you know me, I don't like beer. I don't like beer at all. And so doing like a ginger ale, a true alcoholic ginger ale, would turn me off completely from these cocktails. And it's really fairly hard to get your hands on. I mean, you're not going to go to the supermarket and pick your hands up on an alcoholic ginger beer. So all the recipes that I have seen through the various cocktail books and the like just say to use one of the ginger beers, the non-alcoholic ginger beers that you can get from your supermarkets as a mixer. I have had some alcoholic ginger beers, and they can be quite tasty. I don't know what they would do to these cocktails, frankly. It would be a very different experience with them. So, Kanichi, Bali Hai, El Diablo, Suffering Bastard. Star, do you have a preference of the drinks we've had this evening? She's going to go with the Bali Hai. Am I surprised? Look, it doesn't have ginger beer in it, and it has pineapple and Kahlua. So yeah, obviously she's going to go with the Bali Hai. I got to go with the Suffering Bastard. I think it's a delightful cocktail. When you need a change of pace from doing your typical typical rum cocktails, is a wonderful change of pace cocktail. So I do have a new book to talk about. Actually, I have multiple new books, but we're only going to talk about two of them. So 2 weeks ago, something like that, we discussed the fact that I had a homemade bitters kit, and that there was a book on its way to help me make homemade bitters. Well, the book arrived this week, and this is by Brad Thomas Parsons. This is a spirited history of a classic cure-all. Cocktails, recipes, and formulas Bitters by Brad Thomas Parsons. Cool looking book. It's got a little history of bitters in here. It talks about some of the major bitters, talks about where we're going with bitters, and oh my gosh, the sheer number of bitters that are out there these days. Talks about the Angostura Empire, has a bunch of cocktails that rely on bitters for them in here. Really nice book. I've only gotten about 40 pages into this, so I'm just now hitting the bitters basics. So we will see what happens here as we go through. The first thing that I'm going to run into is a couple of their recipes for bitters, including an apple bitters. So that'll be some interesting stuff to get through. So heartily recommend this, at least this as far as I'm into it. So far, so good. If you're into making homemade bitters, this seems to be the book that everyone talks about. James Beard Foundation award winner. So there you go. James Beard Foundation. Anything that they give an award to, I think is worth recommending. The second is okay. So when you go to the cocktail section or the bartending section of any major bookstore, 90% of your books are going to be recipe books. They are going to have recipe after recipe after recipe. Some of them will have history and will provide you some history of the cocktail, who invented it, where, major variations on it. Some of the more esoteric ones will actually give you like a family of cocktails and build out from there. Like, this is the base sour. If you change out the basic ingredient, the basic spirit for the whiskey sour, and you use some other base spirit like gin, you get a different sour, and then it goes off and explores the family of cocktails. This book is different. This book isn't about the recipes. It has a few recipes in it, but it is all about how to make cocktails. It's all about the techniques involved. And so this is the Bar Book by Jeffrey Morgenthaler. I have to admit, I know the name Jeffrey Morgenthaler, and I know of him, but this book comes highly, highly recommended. That and the Meehan's bartending guide. But this is really cool. I'm, again, reading multiple books at the same time. So I'm about 75 pages deep into this one. And this starts you off pretty slow. I mean, this is talking about, okay, here are the base ingredients, like fruit juices and citrus juices, how to get the most out of your limes, lemons, oranges, what kinds of different presses and extraction techniques you can use. Talks about other types of juices and ways of doing extractions from other types of juices, like pomegranates, or in this case, raspberries. Has this really funky MacGyver centrifuge method, which I think is cool. So essentially, you're going to take your fruit and some sugar, and you're going to food process the bejesus out of that. And then you're going to take your salad spinner that you have, because don't we all have salad spinners? I mean, come on. Line it with cheesecloth, dump the fruit puree in there, and just wail on the thing to get the centrifuge effect. And what it'll do is it'll keep all of the solids in the strainer basket and in the cloth, the cheesecloth. And what you'll end up with is a nice puree that you can use, or a nice infused fruit puree, essentially, without all the nasty solids and stuff that get caught in between people's teeth. And you go, hey, how you doing, baby? And you got this big piece of apricot stuck between your teeth. Not a pretty thing. So, just, it's got like little cool things like that. So the one thing that did strike me, everybody talks about making your own grenadine, because frankly the Rose's grenadine is just terrible, and that's what most people use, and it's awful, and don't use it because it's just corn syrup. Yeah, I will never be sponsored by Rose's. I don't care. It's just awful. Don't use it. But if you're going to make homemade grenadine, you have to have pomegranate juice. And the vast majority of people say, just buy pomegranate juice. Don't Don't even try, ripping apart your pomegranate, taking all the little seeds out, and then you got to extract the juice from every one of those little seeds. And Jeffrey was like, well, why don't you just do it like you do any other fruit? Cut your pomegranate in half, slap it on one of your mechanical or your citrus juicer, and let it just juice the pomegranate. Apparently, it works really well. I'm just like, okay, that's just so freaking obvious. Why didn't I see that on an episode of Mythbusters somewhere? So far, seeing cool things like that, MacGyvering the heck out of your bartending. I mean, how cool is that? And I'm barely into this book. I haven't even touched on all of the various pieces of bartending equipment and that sort of thing. So we'll see how it goes. It's interesting because Jeffrey has different opinions than some others might do on citrus and that sort of thing. He is fresh. Several other authors that I've seen talk about citrus say, look, you can store your lemons and limes in the freezer for up to like 6 months, pull them out, let them defrost, and then go. So once again, at some point, I'll have to do my own experiment and see what the results are. But Jeffrey Morgenthaler, the bar book, Elements of Cocktail Technique, and photographs by Alana Hale. Having a lot of fun with this, and we'll probably read significantly more of this later this evening. It's got a nice little write-up, nice little colory puff piece on the back, like most books do, by Dale DeGroff, the James Beard Award winner. So, that again, that's not so bad either. I need more of The Suffering Bastard. And there we go. That is, I think that's Quarantiki number 21.